Yeah. Let me see your hair.
Yeah.
Put your camera. Let's see your haircut.
It's just
Did you even
It's a
get your
hell of a
haircut? That's not a haircut.
fade.
What? Like the guy only cuts the side of your head? What kind of haircut
That's
is
all
that?
I did. I wanted to keep the top on.
How much did that cost you?
$40.
40 bucks to
What?
cut the side of your head?
Well, that's with tip. That's with the tip added on.
What do you tip? $39?
$39.50.
I give him a $5 every time.
Oh man!
By the way, a couple pods ago, we were recording and the light was hitting your head just right, so I could just see the perfect curvature of your scalp. It was as if you were bald. I was like, oh, so this is.
Well, I am practically bald.
I can't wait for that first show on Hockey Night when you just show up, just skinhead.
Just bicked.
I wish I could do it. I really do.
I don't think it suits you.
Tom, you have to understand, no matter what I do, I'm gorgeous.
Wish I had that kind of confidence.
Welcome to 32 Thoughts, the podcast presented by the GMC Sierra AT4X. Dom Shermati at his home in Vancouver. Elliot, you and I are in Edmonton because this is the Stanley Cup Final Preview Podcast. Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers for a second year in a row. We've got a handful of interviews we gathered from Media Day from Edmonton on Tuesday. We'll get to those in a little bit. But Elliot, as we sit here recording this about 24 hours before Game 1 of this final series, one of the interesting things here, first of all, on Tuesday, the Florida Panthers took the long flight from Sunrise here to Edmonton Tuesday morning. Didn't skate here in Edmonton on Tuesday. They're a team that has prioritized rest. They waited till the final off day to come up to Edmonton both times last year during the final. That was an interesting one to begin our day here on Tuesday.
Trust the science, Kyle.
They are big into that.
The science tells you what to do, and you cannot argue with science.
Bill Nye would agree.
So I'm not going to argue.
No. How are you feeling about things as we get set here for Game 1? Because I think a lot of the conversation over the last few days has been, okay, how is Edmonton different? How is Florida different from 1 year ago?
I like what Paul Maurice said, and you're going to hear Maurice's interview in a few minutes here, but he talked about how last year Edmonton was an elite offensive team and Florida was an elite defensive team. And he said this year, Edmonton is much improved at what they weren't as good at. They're a much better defensive team, while Florida is much improved at what they weren't as good at last year. They are a much better offensive team. He thinks both teams are better. I tend to agree with that. I think both teams are better than they were last year, which is a bad sign for anybody playing the Panthers because they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. To me, I see four things that stand out for me. Number one, the goalie matchup. Skinner's got to be the way he's been since he came back in for Calvin Pickard. If Skinner gives Edmonton that type of goaltending, they could win. If he doesn't, it's trouble. Number two, of all the things Edmonton has done in this playoffs, the thing I've most been blown away with is the fact that they won 11 games without Ekholm. I wouldn't have believed it was possible, and I guarantee you there are members of the Oilers organization who weren't convinced it was possible. But how did they do it? They went out, and as Chris Knobloch said on Tuesday, they deserve a lot of credit for finding guys like Klingberg and Wallman who could get the puck out of their zone. And he said, we're an offensive team. We need our offense. You need to get the puck out of their zone. And they prioritized and found guys who could do it, and those guys have been a big part of their group. I think that is a huge part of it, Kyle. Florida is a great forechecking team. Mm-hmm. They win battles. They trap the puck low against you. If Edmonton can continue to get the puck out the way they have in the first three rounds, I think Edmonton can win. If not, they're in big trouble. Number three for me, is breakaways. Florida's the way they play, and I was talking to someone about this on Tuesday who said it to me. Florida will give up breakaways. When you have Sergei Bobrovsky, you'll take your chances. It's not the best strategy always, but they will take the risks because they have the best in the world at the end of their ice. I've said this before, that if I was picking one goalie now to win a game to save your mortgage, I would pick Bobrovsky. And, look at William Nylander, for example. There were times he beat Bobrovsky, but there are other times Bobrovsky beat him, including, there were a couple times with that series on the line where Sergei saved their butts because he stopped Nylander on breakaways.
Overtime in Game 3.
Overtime in Game 3, and also later in the series. Edmonton, we all saw what McDavid did on the breakaway in Game 5 against Dallas. If you capitalize on your breakaways, and you will get them, Edmonton can win. If not, you're in trouble. And for me, number 4, it's the McDavid factor. I can't tell you, it's a total intangible. It's not a real thing you can measure, Kyle, but I can't tell you how many people in the last couple of days have said to me, we cannot see McDavid going this far and losing twice in a row. As good as Florida is, and they're a great team, I can't tell you how many people have said that. At least 10. Cannot see McDavid going this far and losing twice in a row. And I think about that a lot. So last year they were overwhelmed. I remember in the 2007 Stanley Cup Final, Ottawa got beaten Anaheim in the first 2 games. They eventually lost in 5. I remember talking to John Muckler on the day of Game 3. He was the GM of the Senators at the time. And he said that the Senators that year reminded him of the first Oiler team to make the final when they lost to the Islanders 4th in a row. He said we were so overwhelmed that we didn't even know what hit us. And he said that reminded him of Ottawa in 07. Well, let's go to last year. The Oilers were down 3-0 before they knew what hit them. I think it'll be different. I have so much respect for the Panthers. At the beginning of the year, I picked the Oilers. I never change my pick until the team I have is out. I'm not changing my pick. I think it's going to be a hell of a series. I can't wait for it to start.
I remember, Craig Simpson was big on that too, having gone through it. He did it twice with Edmonton, right, in 88 and 90. And he says, you work so hard